order the August 28th meeting of the Los Alamitos Planning Commission. Could I have a roll call, please?
Chair Riley,
Here.
Vice Chair Sofocanic,
Here.
Commissioner Andrade,
Here.
Commissioner Quilty,
Here.
Commissioner DeBolt, absent, Commissioner Gross,
Here.
and Commissioner Lowe, absent.
Okay, please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, at this time, we'll move on to oral communications. If there's anyone present who would like to come up and speak on an item that is not on the agenda, you could come forward and do so now. All right, seeing no one come forward, I'll go ahead and close oral communications, and we'll move on to approval of the minutes. We will start with the special meeting on May 22nd.
I'll make a motion to approve. I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Motion carried. We have the regular meeting of May 22nd.
I'll make a motion to approve the regular meeting for May 22nd.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Motion carries. Regular meeting, June 26th.
Make a motion to approve the minutes. I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain. Motion carries. And the regular meeting, July 24th.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I will second that motion. I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Abstain.
Motion carries. Very good. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, that takes us to the consent calendar, which we have no items on. Staff reports, we have no items, so that takes us to public. Item 8A, public hearings, consideration of a modification to site plan review, 1805 Katella Deli addition. Do I have a staff report?
Chair Riley and members of the Planning Commission, Site Plan Review 1805M is the consideration of an expansion and reface of a restaurant at 4470 Katella Avenue on a 1.3 acre parcel in the Commercial Professional Office zoning district. And the applicant is here with us tonight, David Abbas from DMA Builders, and he's representing Bagel Boys, Inc., who is the owners of Katella Deli, which is what this is for. And the modification requests approval for what will now be a 1,679 square foot addition to the existing building. The additional square footage will allow for a larger retail customer space and for the ADA upgrade of the restrooms. As shown in the staff report, the development standards continue to be met by this project. And the modification includes a renovation to the exterior of the building in a different style from what was previously approved. This now is brick and kind of an industrial look. Before it was more Art Deco kind of. So the southeastern portion of the building will remain the same in the current style it is now. So it'll kind of have some architectural interest in that way as well, and will show a little bit of history from what was there before. And the project still includes a reconfiguration of the parking area to add 12 parking spaces and a full upgrade to the landscaping. And staff recommends that the Planning Commission open the public hearing, receive any comments, and then approve the modification to the project with the conditions shown in the draft resolution. Back to you, Chair.
All right, thank you. Questions for staff? Okay, I'll open the public hearing. and ask the applicant to come forward and tell us a little bit about your project.
Good evening, Chairperson Riley and members of the commission. My name is Craig Oka. I'm the architect, and I was here last year. It was a little less than a year ago that we got the other project approved. After we got that project approved, the owner decided he wasn't quite happy with the look of the building, and he wanted a more unified look. So this is what we've developed, and we're much more pleased with this. One of the key issues is that to get the maximum amount of transparency as we moved the restrooms from up front near the entry to the back. We realized that it was going to cost him a lot more money to do this scheme, but he bought off on that. And so we have a lot of transparency now. So when you enter going eastbound on Katella, you can see right into the restaurant. And we redid the internal configuration so that we have more of an island bar, much more open interior floor plan. We leveled out the floors. Previously, we kept the changes in floor level. We felt that was a liability for ADA. So overall, this is a much improved plan. It's still Katella Deli, but it's a more unified look in the building. We did keep the more residential scale portion of the building that kind of flanks towards the residential neighborhood, so we think that's appropriate. We didn't want to remodel that portion. We just wrapped the building, the new brick building, around the more commercial sides of the project. So that pretty much sums it up. The color board is there. If you have any questions, I'd be available to answer any of them.
All right. Does anybody have any questions for the applicant?
Yes, I do. I didn't see any place for a bike rack in your thing. Are you planning to put one in?
Yeah, we could put one in. We have plenty of room to put a bike rack.
Don't put it in the alley though, please.
No. We'll put it up near the entry.
That'd be nice. We're
Probably
seeing
off-
more and more people out on
No,
bikes,
great.
including myself, and I'd like to have a bike rack when I go out.
Yes, we will provide.
And then pass the board.
Any other questions for the applicant? All right, thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to come forward and speak on this project? All right, with that, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the commission. Discussion, questions, motions.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None? Motion carries. Congratulations.
Looks really nice.
Yeah. All right, that takes us, nothing for discussion. Items from the Development Services Director?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I just have a few items I want to mention to you this evening. First of all, as you may recall, we're mandated by the state of California to address affordable housing. It's called, every so many years we have to go through what's called the Regional Housing Needs Assessment. It's a state mandated item that is, for our area, administered by SCAG, the Southern California Association of Governments. That process is underway, and you may hear a little bit about that in the media as the state has now distributed out to the various regions their expectation for the number of units to be constructed over the next planning cycle, which is an 8-year cycle from October 2021 to October 2019. So once those numbers are released from SCAG, meaning that they'll take the state numbers and then they'll do an allocation by the various regions that SCAG oversees, and then I'll break that down into each jurisdiction actually getting an allocation. Once we have that information, then we'll have to address updating our housing element to reflect those numbers. So at this point in time, we've been talking with our local Orange County representative that's assisting us on that, and the numbers aren't, I shouldn't say too alarming. I mean, we're essentially a built-out community, but in consideration of the numbers that are being discussed county-wide and for various jurisdictions within our county, it's a fairly nominal amount for us going forward. But as those numbers solidify, we'll obviously be sharing those with the commission, and as I mentioned, we'll then have to subsequently go through the process of updating our housing element going forward. A few things to mention from a development standpoint. If you haven't noticed and possibly been a customer already, we have the new Starbucks open on Katella at Winter's Circle. That is a drive-through Starbucks. If you haven't been there, I think it's architecturally a very nice building, and the interior finish that was done by Starbucks came out very well.
It's nice.
I also think of interest, I think it is very nice. I also think something that came out quite well is the awnings around the perimeter of the building are not a solid material awning. They're actually a patterned awning. So if you notice that, if you're outside maybe utilizing the outdoor seating space or whatever, you'll see during, obviously, various times of the day it changes, but it casts a shadow with a pattern onto the concrete and the outdoor seating, which I think is very intriguing. And coming from the desert, you need that solid shade, but here we can get by a lot with just some shade, and it just adds another architectural, ever-changing architectural feature, I think, to the building and its surrounding. So I just wanted to point that out to you. It's a very nice building. We're still waiting to find out. I don't think there's been a determination on the tenant or tenants that would go in the remainder of that building, but we're looking forward to seeing that filled going forward. We continue to see progress on other projects throughout the community. If you haven't seen lately, the hotel's coming along. The exterior facade is you're starting to see some of the finished details showing up on that. Also, the Olson project on Sausalito, the first building is framed, and they're in the process this week of starting to apply the stucco exterior and putting the roof on. So it's starting to actually look like a building, and progress is being made there. And then also next door at the Hutton property, the Los Alamitos Luxury Apartments property, they brought equipment on, and they'll be starting the soil remediation work, I believe, next week. So, and we're in second round of plan check review on the apartment project right now. So progress is definitely being made in those areas. And, we're going to have more activity coming forward, and that's probably a good segue to my final item. And I wanted to mention to you that our meeting next month, I'm glad we're done we'll be done relatively in short order tonight, because next month we will have a fairly lengthy meeting to make up for this. We have a number of items on the agenda coming forward to you for your consideration. So if you're unable to make it, if you could let us know sooner than better. We do hope that all 7 commissioners can be here, or obviously we want to make sure we have a quorum, because we do have, again, a number of larger items coming forward for your consideration next month. And with that, that'll conclude my comments this evening. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. That takes us to commissioner reports. Anything from anybody?
I was just kind of curious about this wonderful permit process that seems to be happening on some of the streets around the neighborhood. I don't know if you've seen much about that, but I kind of got blindsided by it in the sense that had a vehicle that wouldn't start, so put a note on it, but actually got a warning that I had no permit, and I never even knew that there was a permit program, or nobody told me about it. I just got a warning before I even got notification of this permit program.
Sure.
So that was a little frustrating, not to mention that, we had put in our comments as to how we felt about it, but where are we going with this? Because it seems like a huge waste of time and money.
Yeah, absolutely. To give you a summary, the city has 5 residential parking neighborhoods, if you will, or neighborhoods with resident parking permits or boundaries established. In 2018, the Traffic Commission, by the directive of the City Council, reviewed all 5 of those neighborhood permit programs. And after going through a process to solicit public comment and consider all of those, the commission made a recommendation to the City Council, and that was to uphold and maintain 4 of those 5 neighborhoods. The council ultimately said, no, we want to maintain all 5. So essentially, there's no change to what has been established for a number of years. What is changing is ensuring that there's basically proper management and enforcement of what has been in place for a number of years.
Well, I realize the signs have been there for a number of years. I realize that it hasn't been enforced. It actually just kind of went away. Because I've been in one of those neighborhoods for over 11 years now. Never have I received a warning on any vehicle. Not to mention, I don't know anybody that I've spoken to that wants to have to deal with that. Those were strictly there because at the time, the racetrack was full and people were parking in that neighborhood, and that was to deter them from doing that. That does not happen anymore. So to have a program that the city has to spend money driving around, to spend money to issue permits to all of these residents, to enforce it, to do all of these things, I don't understand it whatsoever. I don't get it.
Understood. However, the process, we just concluded that process in February
Mhm.
with council's directive, and we're obviously in that mode right now of educating and informing the residents within those neighborhoods. And part of that notification is through what you received, which is, again, it's not a ticket, it's really
No, I understand.
an informational
Yeah.
component to that.
Would have been nice to have gotten something on my doorstep versus the actual vehicle.
Yeah, and that's the challenge, is we don't always know where the vehicle, where the owner of the vehicle resides without having to look up the actually run the plate and
Right.
so on and so forth. But the interest here is to educate and inform the residents of those neighborhoods of what's happening. I've heard from others besides you that same comment. However, we're in that process of, again, going forth with what was directed by the council. And I would say that as we venture forward, if there's obviously a greater concern raised by residents, they have that opportunity to voice those concerns to the Traffic Commission and to the City Council. At any time, those can be revisited and reconsidered.
Oh, I will do that.
I'm sorry?
I will do that.
Yeah, it's, again, we went through that, I experienced at least one of those 5 when I came on board, but there were meetings and notifications sent out to the neighborhood
Well, we did
residents.
respond. I remember seeing a questionnaire,
Yes.
and we did respond to that. So
Thank you for responding. You're one of the few that
Okay,
did.
well, I mean, I do remember that going out, but anyway, okay, that gets me up to date. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you.
All right, anyone else?
Do we know the status on the tattoo parlor sign that's inappropriate?
They pulled a permit today.
They pulled a permit to
Yeah.
put a real sign up?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, anyone else? Okay, I think we're done with that. Meeting adjourned.